I was just a kid, like, singing in my bedroom, just doing whatever.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was scared of, like, what people are going to think of me. Like, people from school are probably going to see this video. Like, what are they going to think? So I kind of put up a front, not show my personality at all. But that changed. You know, my brand now is very, like, I am who I am. Like, I make the jokes I think are funny. And, like, if people think they're funny, that's great. But, like, if they don't, then that's okay as well, because that's just who I am.
Thank you so much for being here, Vanessa.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited to talk to you today. So let's get started with a little icebreaker. Okay. We have 2 roses and a thorn. So tell us 2 highs and 1 low of your week so far.
Ooh, let's see. Well, I am moving, so we found a new apartment. That's a good thing.
Yes.
I've been super excited to be back. You know, I took a little break for social media, and so that's another rose that I'm back and, like, really excited for that. And a low, I'm from Miami, so it's been a little cold. And I'm like, oh my God. The cold is coming, so that's my low.
All right, so let's start it from the beginning. You said you're from Miami. I'm a Miami girl too, so were you born in Miami? Tell us a little bit about your childhood.
Yeah, so I was born in Miami, and then I moved to Nicaragua when I was like 8 months.
Okay.
And then I lived there for the first 5 years of my life, and then I went back to Miami. And I've been there, and I just moved to LA about a year ago. So.
Okay, so you said how many years you were in Nicaragua?
5 years.
Nice. Do you have memories?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
nice.
Like, my first memories are all in Nicaragua. Like, I lived in my grandparents' house, and, like, it was just a blast. Like, I have so many fond memories of Nicaragua in that time.
That's how I am too. I actually was born in Venezuela, but then I moved to Miami with my mom. My mom was working 3 jobs, and then I went with my grandma's neighbor back to Venezuela because my mom ran into her at the mall.
Yeah.
And she just like was like, can you please take my daughter? And then I lived in Venezuela until I was 8. So all my childhood memories were in my grandparents' house, and it was the best memories ever. I always say, like, living in Latin America, South America as a child it's so exciting.
It's such a different experience.
Yeah, you play outside.
Yeah.
At least for me, like, my grandma would cook out in the street every Sunday with, like, a candelera, right? I think that's what it's called.
I don't know.
Like, a big thing to make sopas.
Oh, okay.
I think it's something like that. Somebody's gonna correct me, but it's like, and then it's just like, you know, I think for me, and correct me if it's different with you, but, like, I was raised that your family is crazy and that's just how family is.
Yeah.
And then I moved to the US and everybody's like, no, everybody is perfect. And I was like, wait.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you lived in Nicaragua, you came back, and then how was your life growing up in Miami?
In Miami, I think it's a mixture. You know, like, recently, like, when you're a kid, you don't realize the struggles you go through. But I was raised by a single mom, and, like, she did everything she could, and she raised me all by herself. So it was, like, sometimes we did have, like, economic challenges, but at the end of the day, like, I felt really supported at home. And, like, as a kid, I was really into music and into, like, I started playing, like, the violin, which I don't do that anymore. But then I got into, like, piano, choir, and theater. And that was kind of, like, my happy place, like, in school.
Nice. That's amazing. I played clarinet myself.
Oh, cool.
Don't play anymore, but, you know.
Yeah.
So you grew up, your mom was a single mom, you said, and what were some things that you would say you grew up seeing that made you maybe grow up a little bit more and see, like, oh, this is what's going on? Yeah.
I mean, as a kid, you don't really realize when things are going on, especially, like, economic things. But, like, I would always have to go, like, to before and after school, like, because my mom would work, like, really early until, like, the evening, and we didn't really have people to take care of me after. So I would be, like, in school all day. And that's kind of how I got into, like, theater and things like that, because, like, even into sports, because I would be like, okay, I'm in after school. This is kind of just boring. I have to do my homework. But I was like, I could be, like, in the volleyball team and do practice, or, like, I could be in the group with theater kids and do, like, rehearsals that way. So it kind of was a challenge, but at the end of the day, it, like, helped me get into different things that I didn't think would be, like, available to me if I didn't have that extra time.
Were you shy, social in school?
Yeah, I'm pretty shy, like, which is different than, like, how I am on social media because I am a performer. So I see like when I make sketches like that, it's like I'm performing. But if you get to know me like personally, I can be really shy.
You're like an introvert.
Yeah.
And then when you were growing up, did you deal with anything with being a Latina in school and things of that sort?
I feel like something people don't talk about is like the prejudice that we have within Latino communities. So I grew up in Miami. Like most of us are Latino in Miami, but I did like experience like racism and things like that because of my skin color, because of my features. So that's something that like I struggled with. But at the end of the day, like my mom, I remember something she would do is like when Miss Universe would come on, she'd be like, look at all like the brown ladies. Like sometimes it would be like Miss Venezuela was like una morena. And she'd be like, look at her. Because my mom is a white Latina. So we look different in some ways. So that was kind of like a shock because where I was from in Nicaragua, I didn't experience that. We were all brown, you know,
Right.
we all look similar to me. But in Miami, you have so many different cultures. And unfortunately, there is that prejudice within our community.
I think that even in South America, like if I'm being 100% honest, like if you bring a certain male home of your same ethnicity, but if they look different than what your family says, if you're a black and brown family and you bring a white man home, or if you're a lighter skin Latino and you bring a black Latino home, even a black Venezuelan, a black Nicaraguan, like everything, it's just looked down upon. And it, like you said, it's not talked about a lot. Recently, the stuff that happened on social media with the Spanish racism, the comments that came out, I was like, finally somebody is saying it, because there is so much racism inside our community, inside our own ethnicities. And it's definitely not talked about, and it's something that it's so weird.
It is weird.
So weird. I come from a really big family of 15 aunts and uncles.
Wow.
Over 102 cousins. And when I kid you not, I have blonde, blue-eyed cousins and I have black cousins.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you mean to tell me that some people see these and these as different? Like, what? It's so crazy to me. But so you dealt with that. Were you were in drama, right?
Yes.
So was that your escape, would you say, to be able to be like the extrovert self?
Yeah.
Growing up?
I feel like that, like theater, choir, all of that was like my escape. I loved doing that. I did musical theater as well. So it was like, I loved doing it. And we even I did like a community theater when I was in high school, and we would do like weekend shows. So I would be there like all weekend after school. Like it was the best time. It was a lot of work, but it was amazing.
So I'm going to get a little personal.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you used a lot of your time in there. Would you say you ever used that time to kind of suppress whatever was happening at home?
Well, at home, it was very peaceful.
Okay.
Like my mom, she always made it like a very safe space. I think I did struggle with like my paternal figure and like having conflicts in that way. But I kind of used it not to suppress it, but I guess to express it. And it just gave me like a release for all of that.
Did you ever deal in high school? I know it can be a really tough time for a lot of teens. Did you ever deal with anxiety or depression during that time?
Yeah. I mean, I deal with anxiety all the time. Like, I deal with it to this day, you know? So like, I think I started with anxiety not in high school, but in college, with just so many changes in my life. And I still didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I knew I wanted to perform, but at the same time, I had like kind of that voice in my head that was like, you need to do something that's like serious, something that you're going to be successful with. So it was kind of like an inner battle, you know? And I think that triggered more of like anxiety and those type of feelings within me.
And then when you started feeling that in college, when did you actually start being able to acknowledge what it was and knowing how to dissect it and deal with it?
Yeah, so I have family members that deal with anxiety, so I kind of knew what it looked like. So when it manifested within me, I'm like, oh, like I know what this is. I need to go to like a therapist, and they helped me like deal through all of that, which was like the best thing I could do. And thankfully, my college, my university, I went to FIU in Miami, and they have like a bunch of services, psychological services, and I went to them, and they really helped me out and like got me through that time.
That's awesome, because a lot of times, like, people think that therapy is a weakness to go to it. And I'm an avid therapy person. If anybody knows me, I love therapy.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you've had a great upbringing. Therapy can help you be able to understand yourself and understand other people better.
Yeah.
So that's great that you went and did that. Now, when did social media content creation start for you?
So I actually started, a lot of people don't know this, but I started in YouTube, like in high school.
Oh, wow. You're an OG.
Yeah, but it was tiny. Like I didn't get any traction when I was like doing that. I was just doing
What were you doing?
I was doing like singing covers, and then I was doing makeup stuff, like just random things.
Are they still up there?
No.
I'm like, let's search you now.
Yeah. I feel like I privated most of them because I was like, oh my God, what is
cringe?
This? Yeah. But then in 2020, I was working at a news station because I studied communications and journalism. And then the show I was working on got canceled because of COVID and everything. So I was like, oh, what am I going to do? And my boyfriend, he was my boyfriend at the time, husband now, was like, and my mom as well, they were like, oh, we heard about TikTok. Like, you should go and do that. So I treated TikTok like completely different than any other platform I had. I just had fun with it. I did like whatever I wanted, showed more of my like personality, and that kind of started to blow up for me. And that's how it started.
Nice. So how are you at TikTok now?
Good. I'm more than 200K, I think.
Wow,
yeah.
That's amazing. And what do you think? So you use TikTok, do you still do like personality, or have you switched the narrative of it?
What do you mean?
Like for TikTok, you said that you started using it as different as the other platforms. So do you still use TikTok differently than all the other platforms, or have they?
I feel like I switched because when I started doing content, I feel like I was very like, not myself, not genuine to who I am, which might be like why it didn't have any traction back in the day, because I was still growing up, like still kind of like learning who I am.
Yeah.
So once I realized that people are going to like you genuinely for who you are, for what makes you you, then I just switched on all my platforms and was like, this is what I'm going to do throughout, like in every platform that I have.
What did you start doing in the beginning of social content that changed? Like, and I say that to say, when you started doing social media, what was your goal and kind of like your brand? And what is your goal now? And what is your brand now?
Yeah. When I started, I don't think I had like anything like that in mind. You know, I was just a kid like singing in my bedroom, just doing whatever.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was scared of like what people are going to think of me. Like people from school are probably going to see this video, but like what are they going to think? So I kind of put up a front, not show my personality at all. But that changed. You know, my brand now is very like, I am who I am. Like I make the jokes I think are funny, and like if people think they're funny, that's great. But like if they don't, then that's okay as well, because that's just who I am. So now, you know, my goal, I really love acting, making sketches. So my end goal would be like acting and producing and doing all of that in like a larger scale.
And what would you use 3 words to describe your brand now?
Oh my God. I don't know. Ooh, that's hard. I don't even know what to say to that. Probably fun.
Okay.
I think insightful, because sometimes I touch upon topics that can be difficult to talk about, but in a lighthearted way. So insightful and I guess genuine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever get scared about being genuine on social media?
Yeah. I feel like...
How do you battle with that? Or how do you tackle that, actually?
I feel like in the beginning, it was more difficult for me to tap into that. But I just felt like it's kind of exhausting to not put yourself out there, not be like who you really are. So for me, I'd rather just put what I really believe in out there than just like keep this front, you know, because that's
more preparation.
Yeah.
To have to fake it.
Yeah.
It's like faking the funk takes so much more energy.
Yeah.
But, you know, do you ever get hateful comments or anything like
yeah.
that? How do you, does it bother you, or are you like pretty good with it?
I'm not going to lie and say that it doesn't bother me, because we're all human, and that's something that I feel like people forget, that like if you see people on your screen and like you see them all the time, you might not realize that there's someone behind the screen. Like, but in the beginning, it did bother me a lot more than now because I kind of like know how the game is, you know. But like in the beginning, I did get some comments. I remember I made a video. It was like a silly video. And I responded because somebody was telling me how like I was not Latina at all. Like, in Latina or like Latina enough. I don't remember. But it really upset me. And then I immediately like made a response, which I shouldn't. Like now I know like you don't do that, especially when you're like in your emotions. And then I responded with an audio. It was like a silly audio from like a movie. It wasn't even me saying anything bad. And then it got on like the wrong side of TikTok, and like it got on
the worst. Yeah. You're like, wait, let me take that back. Let me take that back.
It got on the side where like I feel like there is this thing within our community that if you're not like born in Latino America, if you're not living there every day of your life, then you're not Latina. And so it got on that side of TikTok, and then I got like thousands of comments being like, "You're not even Latina. Like, who are you? Like." And it got me questioning because it was in the beginning of my career where I still didn't know what this was like. And I was like, I went up to my boyfriend at the time. And I'm like, am I Latina, babe? I don't know, because
they second guess yourself.
Yeah, which is ridiculous now that I think about it. But like, if you have thousands of people coming to you and saying that, it's going to mess with you.
It's still so hard for me to grasp the idea of somebody being behind a screen and having so much audacity to say, listen, you can have the thought. The thought is fine. You can have the opinion. It's the fact that you go out of your way to write it and click send to confirm and hope that the person reads it.
Yeah. I don't know.
And I don't get it. And I feel for those people, but I also just like, you know, sometimes I don't feel for them and I'm like, you suck.
Yeah.
And why does that happen? Yeah. But, you know, from that and from even your hateful comments, your supporters and everything, you've been able to build a brand for yourself called Nessa.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Nessa.
So actually Nessa started before I had like platforms and stuff. Oh. Yeah. I started that in, I believe, 2018. I think straight out of college or still in college. And I wanted to like, I've always been into like fashion and accessories and things like that. So I wanted to make my own little shop. And I made my online shop. You know, my family, my mom, she used to have like boutiques in Nicaragua. So it's something that like we have in the family, like the entrepreneurial spirit. And in 2018 is when I started with my Nicaraguan necklace. And it was a project in collaboration with the American Nicaraguan Foundation. And we would give them like some proceeds from the sale because I really believe in like giving back and everything. So it kind of started that way, and it gained more traction within the Nicaraguan community in Miami, and that's how it started. And then we've expanded into doing more like loungewear, accessories, T-shirts, and all types of things. Do you have an end goal for it, or are you just seeing it as it goes and letting it do its thing? Yeah, for now, like there's so many projects in my mind that it's been a little bit difficult just to keep up with it, but I really want it to grow into like a bigger thing and even continue that collaboration with different foundations and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, next thing you know, you're going to have a company called Nessa Productions. Yeah. And it's going to be for your first movie. Yeah. Your first TV series.
Manifesting.
So, yes. So what about content creation do you love? You mentioned that it's a form of escape, a form of expression. Now, with it changing over the years, do you still feel that in it? And because you took a break from it recently.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how are you able to tell yourself, okay, I need to step away from it because I'm not seeing it as I used to, and the love for it now is
dwindling?
Yeah.
I think that's a difficult question that like I'm still navigating. I'm still trying to like figure that out because I am like a person that's like perfectionist and like I like doing things like a certain way and everything, and I like to be on top of all my socials, but it does come with burnout. Like sometimes, like a lot of my creator friends express this as well. Like sometimes we're just burnt out because we have to do so many things at the same time. And so it's something I'm still navigating. Like recently I had to take a break because my mental health, you know, for my mental health, I just had so many things going on with like my personal life and also with the platform. So I was like, okay, I know this is like not becoming fun right now. And I know when I'm not having fun creating content is when I'm not making my best content anyways. So I'm like, let me just take a break and not push myself because this is not healthy for me. And like mental health should be priority over all of that, which is something I have to remind myself of.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time, especially with social media, like you said, it's so many platforms and it's so fast and a constant go that it doesn't matter if you're making a lot of content. It feels, at least for myself, sometimes it feels like it's still never enough.
Right.
And it's just like, it doesn't matter if it's not enough to this person or that person or even your little inner voice. Like if you're doing enough, that should be more than enough.
Yeah.
And giving ourselves, I think, the credit, because not everyone can do the job that you do. Not everyone has the talent that you have to be able to share a story, create a story, and be able to, you know, put it on a platform where you're allowing yourself to be viewed and judged.
Yeah.
You know, and like that's some strength.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're doing great for yourself. Not many people can say that, you know, they have the following that you have, that they've built the brand that you have, and you're doing great. So
thank you.
I'm all for social media breaks. I think it's needed.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, you take a 2-week break off of work when you work a corporate job.
Yeah.
So it's like, I definitely believe it. Now, what are some insecurities that you still battle with putting yourself on social media?
Ooh. I feel like by putting myself in social media, I kind of had to gain confidence within myself, within my beliefs, within everything I put out there. But obviously, I'm not like an iron woman, you know. Like we also have like things that we think about, like what are people gonna say, like what about this, my hair looks kind of weird today, or like whatever, you know, like so I think I battle within them, like kind of like the everyday things that everyone is kind of self-conscious about. And it can be like exasperated because there's a lot of people looking at you and like, but you kind of have to put that aside. Like that's what I tried to do, you know?
Yeah.
So just kind of like the everyday things. But if I'm having fun, if I like what I'm saying, if I'm, you know, in the content there, like having a blast, then I'd rather just put it out there and like forget about all the little things that at the end of the day don't really matter. Okay.
Now, what would you say for someone starting social media? What are 3 tips that you would say you would give them to start a strong platform?
I feel like when people start, there's a lot of like self-doubt and like, oh, should I put it out now? Like, no, I'll have to make it like perfect and everything. I feel like people just need to take the plunge and do it, because if I wouldn't have like taken that plunge in 2020, like I wouldn't be here with you right now, you know, like, so just put it out there. Learn from other people, like learn what people are doing and how you can make it your own as well. So just like, I guess, find confidence within your voice, and also learn from people around you that are doing better. Learn from yourself and how you can improve.
Be a sponge. That. Now, I have a question. You have had success in your social media. You have goals with the brand. You have goals with your acting and production. But ultimately, today, what do you feel is success for you?
I feel like success is, I guess, being happy in my everyday life and things that I do. Like, I feel so blessed to be able to do like content and have that being part of like how I make my living, because it's such a privilege. So I feel like being successful is being happy. Like, I feel like happiness is not the end goal, because if you're searching for happiness, you're never gonna like reach it. But if you're content with your life, if you're having a good time on your daily basis, and you know, you have health, you have your family, I feel like that is success.
And do you feel like your definition of success changed from now to when you were maybe in college?
Yeah. I feel like sometimes in college, and especially growing up in Miami, you have to have like, the goal is like have a nice car, have your apartment in Brickell, like these kind of crazy things. But, you know, as you grow up and as life challenges you, you realize that that is not success. Like, material things are not success. Obviously, we need money and things to survive and be comfortable. But I feel like health, after this whole pandemic and everything, like health is kind of like the thing that I put like most of my focus on and been really grateful for.
That's amazing. Now, With content creation, with the production company and everything, do you ever deal with the fear of, can I even do this?
Sometimes, but rarely.
Yeah.
Rarely, because I feel like when I have my goal set on something, I don't give myself the option to like, what if this doesn't work? Sometimes, obviously, I have those vulnerable moments, but I try to like take them away because I'm like, no, I'm sure I'm gonna do it. Like, if I have gotten like this far just by myself, like now that I have a plan, now that I have like other resources, why am I not able to, go for it and reach that end goal? So
where do you think that came from? Do you think it was your mom?
Yeah. I saw her like, raise me completely on her own and like have 2 jobs, have so many struggles that I don't think I give myself the option to fail, as tough as that sounds.
Right.
Because I saw her do like the impossible. So now I'm like, now that I have so many more resources than, like the average single mom has, like, why can't I accomplish these things? So that's probably where it comes from.
Well, I love that. And thanks to your mom, because she instilled something great in you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here and for being in my episode today.
Yeah.
I appreciated so much having you, and I'm sure everyone listening and watching is going to be able to learn so much from you. Make sure to let them know your social if they want to follow you.
Yeah, they can find me at Vanessa Sirias everywhere.
And we'll make sure to add it in the description and everything.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here, and until next time.
Thank you.
Bye.